Tonight, I'm going to be speaking on the Voice of the People USA Radio Network with Dan and Holly. Politishock is the name of the show, and I'm just going to be streaming from my end as well, like I like to do sometimes. Anyways, been a pretty crazy week so far. Looking forward to the weekend. Friday's coming up. I'm just waiting on the show to start. It's probably going to be in about 13 minutes, as long as I get a link to join. One of the things that was really crazy that I saw. Let me pull this up so that I don't misquote it, I guess. We'll talk about this. One second. There it is. All right. So this is a breaking news story. In Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which we had a historic Senate loss there. The Republican previously held the Senate seat there for 35 consecutive years, and then lost by 450 votes. Well, the 33-year-old Lancaster County, Pennsylvania poll worker, her name was April Weffler, I believe it's pronounced April Weffler. Well, she was found dead in the river a month after the election. So on her LinkedIn profile, it says that she managed the 240 polling locations in Lancaster County, and the 1,500 plus poll workers within managed them, as well as the election office's website. Okay. On her LinkedIn profile, lists her as an experienced reporter. She worked for 6 years and 2 months for the County of Lancaster as a clerical specialist 2, and then a clerical supervisor for the last 3 years. From October 2011 to December 2015, she worked as a reporter who, quote, authored and published over 180 articles ranging from news to opinion, and was also a media manager and cultural editor in Colorado prior to that. So the questions are, was she murdered? Is it some kind of cover-up? Did she find some kind of corruption? Or was she simply tying up loose strings? We don't know. So we're looking into that. I posted on my X page. Stand by on that. But if Scott Presser is right and there's no fraud there, why is this woman dead? The Lancaster County, Pennsylvania poll worker trainer, senior, managed over 240 poll locations. Anyways, I just got the link to join the show. So let me do this. And let me join. Ooh. I'm going to mute some of my notifications and stuff for the benefit of the show. And then let me send this link to myself, and I will join. Badow. There it is. Close that, close that, close that. All right. So let me join this show here. I actually tried to join this show a week ago, but my flight was delayed, which was no good. All right, so I'm entering the studio. Let me allow, unmute, check my settings for webcam, Good. Got a name there, and enter in the studio. Adjust my camera a little bit. Let's see. All right, so now I'm just in the backstage studio. Right now, Politishock. They got Dan Smeriglio, U.S. Senate candidate challenging, and the co-founder of the MAGA Institute, Timothy Shea. What is there anything I can do about my flag back there? Let me just adjust this. Oh. That's pretty good. All right, so we got like 8 minutes. So I'm in the studio, but I don't have audio on the show right now. I'm not going to open it another window, though, because I think they've got about 6 more minutes. Anyways, while we're here, let's talk about something else. So if you visited my profile on X right now, pinned at the top is a breaking article. It's about a cover-up at Turning Point Action, specifically the chief operating officer, Tyler Boyer, covering up alleged sexual assault by another prominent Turning Point employee by the name of Matthew Martinez. You can see excerpts from the police report with the sexual assault. There's a detailed account of the events from the victim. You see a bunch of screenshots in there. It also includes a letter from the TP Action legal counsel making threats, basically intimidation threats. Remember, this is against like a young girl, and there are completely no basis in law whatsoever. I mean, they also just casually downgraded it from sexual assault in the letter to harassment, which is interesting. So, these completely baseless legal threats, basically for silence. And we have the chief operating officer, Tyler Boyer, taking over the HR investigation quite inappropriately. According to the victim and photos, Tyler Boyer's actually friends with Matthew Martinez. They're pictured some photos together. Allegedly, they spent a lot of time together, took photos together, going out to dinner, drinks, and Mr. Boyer is very complimentary of him publicly, including after the sexual assault. So go ahead and check that out at Brian Ference 1 on X. It's pinned to my profile right now. It's an article, long form article on X. And then at the bottom is linked some other interesting items, other corruption at Turning Point. And this is actually not the first time there's been allegations of sexual assault. So take a look at that, read that. I was in an X space a little earlier before this, and I guess it was a lot of the community notes members, and then some larger influencers. They were talking about the problem with probable spam, which I've covered a lot. Basically, you're getting people falsely labeled as probable spam. It's used to censor people on X. So they were all talking about that and the problems associated with that. There's also talk that community notes has been kind of infiltrated. I myself have applied multiple times there, never got approved. Anyways, let me fill my water real quick. Oh. Let me ask if I have time to get water.
We need people like you. We need people like you out there, even more than you already are. So I know you've been in the battle for quite some time, but I'm going to bombard you and try to get you on the air a lot more. And I'm leaving breadcrumbs there, so I'm hoping you're picking up what I'm putting down. That's it.
I absolutely am. I think we're going to have some good times together.
Thank you, sir. So from my blurry camera to you, Timothy Shea, God bless you. Thank you so much. I'm going to reach out to you probably tomorrow. And I can't wait to have you on again. It's been awesome. And thank you for all that you do. I know I was all over the place, but you're just a badass.
No, so am I. Trump stole it from us. I never called it the weave. I called it Haley's Comet, right? Because you go way out, but then you always circle back.
Yes, I like that.
But he calls it the weave. So when I hear him say the weave, though, I got to think of his hair. Sorry. Listen, I'll sign out the hour with my trademark sign off. Okay.
Wait. You get the solo screen layout for that. Go ahead.
God bless you. God bless these United States. Keep fighting the good fight. Timbo out.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, my camera is still blurry. I don't know why. But that's okay. Timothy Shea, everybody. Dude is awesome. And it was so cool having him on. Thank you again. And I look forward to having him on more. So real quick, we're going to play a quick video. And then we are going to the one and the only Mr. Brian Ference. He's going to be joining us on this show, which I'm looking forward to. And I know he can hear me now. So just bear with me a minute or two, sir. It gets loud for a minute and then I'm coming to you. But, we're blessed here to have some awesome people join the show. And I cannot wait for this next conversation as well, because Brian's a badass. A lot of you out there more than likely already know who he is, and I can't wait to have a conversation with him. My first ever conversation with my wife. My wife sent a few messages back and forth and set this whole thing up, and I'm honored that he's joining us. I think you're going to definitely want to hear what's about to be said. So with that, I'm going to try to make my camera less blurry, and we're going to play a quick video and another intro as we come back for hour number 3 of PolitiShock. I am Dan Spiriglio. This is the Voice of the People USA Radio and Television Network, coming to you live worldwide. And please, 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 please be so kind to share the show. I appreciate you all, and we'll be back shortly.
It's a danger to the public. Plant it in your skull. It's a danger to the public. Take out a chunk of skull, put the neural device into the brain, and then stitch it up, and you wouldn't even know that somebody has it. It's a danger to the public. It's definitely going to be outside of human control. What happens when something vastly smaller than the smallest president comes along? It's very difficult to predict what happens. It will be used as a weapon. Time for the people to take back this country. We are the majority. The Constitution is for the people, by the people to stand up.
What are you doing?
Hi guys, it's me. Oh my gosh, girl, I love Bud Light. It makes me footloose and it is so delicious.
Excuse me. Shut your fucking hole. Somebody's got to put us back on track and say the shit that everybody else is thinking. You're listening to the Voice of the People USA Radio Network. We're given truth serum injections at birth. You are listening to PolitiShock. PolitiShock.
Like shocking about it. What is it?
You need to go back to your parade, crack a Bud Light, and put on your Target panties. It's a shame that real speak equals shock, but we will fly that flag. It may be crass and blunt to some, but the one damn thing you can count on is the truth. Welcome to Politishock. Now, your host, Dan Smeriglio.
And we are back in hour number 3 of Politishock tonight with a special start time of 8 p.m. Eastern. A deviation from my usual start time of 9 p.m. So again, a shout out to our worldwide audience everywhere. Again, over 6 million of you tuned in last week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, we are a grassroots alternative to the big crap that's out there and all the big money, but we're still here. We're still in existence and we're growing. So thank you for joining us. Remember, this is the Voice of the People USA Radio and Television Network. New platform coming very, very, very soon. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for sticking with us. So with that, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to try to go back on camera. You know, obviously I stand out because I'm so damn large, but we'll see if it's blurry. If it's not blurry, I have no idea. Again, I apologize because we have fancy cameras, but they're not up yet, so deal with it. But I am honored to be joined by the man right there, the host, the founder, the proprietor. I'm going to call you a lot of things.
I like it.
MAGA Mind Podcast, MAGAMindPodcast.com right there. See, I could read. I'm still the flashing circle right now. Brian Ference. Am I saying your name right?
It's actually Ference. Like if you spell it phonetically, it'd be like F-A-I-R and then like ants, like A-N-T-S. Ference. Ference. Yeah.
Thank you. I apologize. Listen, everybody butchers my name all the time, and I hate to be that guy, but sometimes I'm guilty, so I apologize in real time.
That's right. I think your camera's clear now, so you must have took off the Oprah vanity lens or whatever you had on there before.
Come on. I gotta work on my appearance. Help out the appearance. Come on. But honestly, it's so cool to have you here. You know, I'm a fan of your work, obviously. And, you know, you're the first off, I'll shut up and allow you to introduce yourself to our audience. You know, we're all over the damn place. We're the dirty little secret of this grassroots movement, if you will, been in existence for almost 20 years. So, sir, go ahead and introduce yourself to the mass audience.
Oh, thank you, Dan. So again, a pleasure to be on your show. My name's Brian Ference. I do run the Magamind podcast, magamindpodcast.com. Also on X, you can follow me at BrianFerence1 or BrianFerence.com. And, you know, I've been involved in politics really since 2020 when the election was stolen. You know, we had the whole COVID scam. I know you're probably talking about that a little bit before. And I just kind of woke up and I was like, what is going on? What is happening? I need to start questioning everything. So I got involved in politics. You know, I was elected precinct committeeman, elected state committeeman, elected member at large at the county for Maricopa County, which is huge on corruption, very corrupt here in Arizona. And I'm currently a member at large on the AZ GOP as well. So, you know, I know about politics. I've always been a registered Republican. I've always voted, you know, for Trump and Republicans. I don't receive any money from Democrats. I've never donated Democrats. That's just a little bit of an intro, but I do a lot of investigative journalism now. You know, I like to call it sometimes rhino hunting. I'm a big rhino hunter. I've got my big balls hat on, so you're in trouble today. We can talk about anything you like when I have my big balls hat on. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. No, it's cool. And you know what? You're the opposite of what I talk about a lot, where a lot of people just magically found their way into this world of, oh, we're MAGA, we're this, we're that, whenever there's money to be made. It's kind of like the I don't speak kindly, good people, but the people up top were all evil, and I saw it firsthand in 2010. The Tea Party folks. You know, Freedom Works is here to save you. John Boehner's a Tea Party guy now. Look what the Tea Party did to save America. They did a great job, didn't they? You know, and then all these big money, big name schmucks all come and they magically put you know, I'm a this now, and you're gonna come to me and you're gonna spend your money and I'm gonna tell you all the wonderful crap I'm gonna do and deliver nothing, but you know, we blindly follow. For you coming into it, you know, it's awesome that not only did you get involved and really go head first into it all, but what I appreciate about you is the fact that, and this is something that I can really appreciate, is that you're fearless and you call out the ones that are the protected class, if you will. So, and I respect that very much so, because not enough people do that. And I will say that having gone to my first ever Turning Point event to do the Media Row, and it's nothing surprises me, but you know how you meet some people like, I think this will be one of the good ones. And they sit down, you're like, wow, what an arrogant scumbag. And I said that time and time again, except with Mike Lindell. He was awesome. He was the one I wanted. I knew he'd be good, and he actually was more than I anticipated. But I seen so many, and I see all the big money, and I just see people constantly led astray. And then I'm going to preface it with this. I don't want to just go right into it, but falls in line with what I've been saying. Now, obviously, I'm challenging Susan Collins, right? I'm the guy who didn't want to run for office, but I'm the first ever declared FEC candidate on the Republican side to challenge that disgusting demon criminal. And, you know, I see a lot of people, and I say this, and I try not to be mean. I'm trying to be good, But people always, we need Scott Pressler to come and save us. We need this person. And I try to politely tell people, take it from somebody who knows. The influencers, the majority of them, they don't care about you. They're not in it for your well-being. They're in it for their own well-being. They're in it for their own payday, and they know how to capitalize and lead people astray, much like the Tea Party folk back in the day. And freedom, invest your money to protest the government taking your money, you know, all this wonderful crap. And I want to just kind of go right into it. There's so many things to talk about, but what brought you to the point where you were able, and now, in full disclosure, I sat down with Scott Pressler at Turning Point, and you know, we had a nice conversation. He was a nice guy, and we had a good talk. But I'm also one of those individuals where I'm not a moron, and I've been in this game for so damn long, and I see how things play out, if you will. And because of that, you need to hear all sides. You need to hear truths. And I hear people say all the time, well, don't trust this one, don't trust that one. You know, this one's this one's that. Well, you know what? There's some truth to it. I'm pointing to the website right there at the bottom, therealscottpressler.com. And, you know, people should do their homework. And I'm not trying to say, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm trying to say that you should look into the people that you hail as a hero, because you're wasting so much time on idolizing these individuals when in reality, you should be doing the work. You should be going out there and actually fighting to save your state, save your country. So with that, go ahead. So I know I talk too much.
That's all right, Dan. I appreciate it. So let me hit on a couple things you mentioned. First of all, you talked about the Tea Party. And the Tea Party absolutely was infiltrated. I mean, totally infiltrated. In Arizona, we had these like Tea Party leaders, and they were the most corrupt grifters ever. I don't think it started out that way, but totally infiltrated. And you mentioned FreedomWorks, and FreedomWorks, in a way, is how I was introduced to Scott Pressler, because there's a well-known grifter in Arizona named Marissa Hamilton. She ran as a City of Phoenix mayor as a libertarian, did fundraising at an abortion doctor's house, so you knew she was bad right away. And she's been running cover for the rhinos in the legislature for years. But she was employed by FreedomWorks. I think they actually fired her at one point. But she was employed by FreedomWorks, and then she was the one that introduced Scott Pressler before he was famous to Arizona. And he actually came and spoke at the AZ GOP annual statutory meeting. And I mean, my antenna, my red flags were up right away. I was like, if Marissa Hamilton, through the Tea Party and FreedomWorks, if she's introducing someone, this person probably is not good. And, whatever. He was doing voter registration. I didn't have a problem with that. Voter registration, sure. Go register some voters, fine. But then he got hooked up real quick with Turning Point and started doing the ballot chasing, pushing mail-in voting, pushing early voting. And that's where a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of people started questioning that and start to have a problem, because it's basically riddled with fraud. And at the website that you have at the bottom there, realscottpressler.com, it's very factual, data-driven. It says, are these claims that were made, are they real? Are they true? Or does the data disprove them? And it talks specifically about the race in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which was a historic loss for Republicans. They held that Senate seat for 35 consecutive years, Republican. Scott Pressler goes in there with Turning Point. They register a bunch of low propensity voters. I discussed this with Audit the Vote PA based on the data. There was like 800 low propensity voters, which are Republicans that don't usually vote, that requested that mail-in ballots. And then it just so happened a lot of those went Democrat. I don't know if there was fraud or not, but Scott Pressler says there was no fraud. So if there was no fraud, those low propensity voter Republicans, they voted Democrat, and that's what lost the race by like 450 votes. So you could say if there was no fraud, according to Scott Pressler and Turning Point directly caused that loss by registering low propensity Republican voters that then voted Democrat.
And thank you for pointing this out. And where do I even begin? It was doing the media row thing, like having to suck it up and go there. And it was like everybody was friendly, but you got to pay to be there, of course. It's not like free, but they only charged me $500, my wife and I, to go there and sit around all these wonderful people who just tell each other how wonderful they are. And it's like, oh, you were friends with Charlie. Yes, Charlie Kirk, when he started Turning Point, I was already doing my thing and asked me if I could share his organization back in 2011, 12 and everything else. Like, yeah, I'm friends with Charlie Kirk. He follows me on X. Do you think we converse or anything? Absolutely not. And I said from the very beginning, now I moved. This is why I get called a carpetbagger, because I moved from Pennsylvania. I lived in Pennsylvania. Right, I escaped the socialist state to go to the state that I loved my whole life, and found out that it's even worse than Pennsylvania, just with a lower population, unfortunately. But there was a lot of things that I questioned. Now, one, it's like I don't like voting early. I do not like that one bit, because I think that just it literally empowers them and tells them exactly how many votes they need to produce, what they need. It's common sense. You look at the last election. It was the most secure election in history. No, it wasn't. All right. So what we know is by sheer data information, first off, if you go back to 2020, what I was doing on the air during multiple shows, I'd go to the voter rolls from the Secretary of State website in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and I'd do the Real American Heroes, like the old Budweiser commercials. And I'd play a whole bit, and I'd talk about this person who just voted in 2020 for Joe Biden. He was born in 1811. And I did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these people. This was all factual, And Joe Biden got all these votes. They said 130 million people voted in the last elections. They never contested any of Trump's votes, but Joe Biden got 81 million. And you do the math, like, hello. So realistically, how many votes did Trump actually get this election, where it was so big they had to call it, right? But look what happened down ballot. Look what happened. There were seats stolen all over country, constantly. And then you have, and this is where I run into it with the Tea Party, and I know Arizona well. My last rally was in 2010 at the state capitol with Sheriff Joe. And that was before the Tea Party really sunk their claws in, if you will.
Right.
And, I seen then, it's like, wait a minute. If all this crap is happening, right, and all this, we're going to save the day. We're going to save the day, but there's no money in saving the day. There's no money in, well, we are the end-all, be-all solution. Now you're cured, so now let me go here and cure them. No, it's like this old thing the Tea Party did back in 2012, the campaign to defeat Barack Obama. We need $1 billion in 24 hours. We only made 800 million. Now we're going to fail. They didn't want Obama to lose, because there's no money in that. So I look at Pennsylvania, which I'm so happy you brought up, because there's so much. But Lancaster, all the crap that went on there was very, very suspect. But then you look at what just happened in Wisconsin. Amazing how they jump in. First off, the candidate that was running was not that fantastical, some real American hero. Not exactly my choice. But look at how they jumped in. They raised all that money, right? They bombarded us. And boom, lost.
Right. And if you look on Early Vote Action is the name of the PAC that Scott Pressler created. If you look on their X account, I don't know if they have it pinned anymore, but they used to have a video and it was about the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. And they were pre-calling like, we will win this election. We are going to crush this. We're registering voters. We're ballot chasing. Don't doubt it. We're going to win. And of course, it was a crushing defeat for Republicans. It was the data's on that website, but I think it was like 110,000 vote loss. So they promised that win. They were on the ground. They were fundraising. Scott Presser texted like everyone in the nation, emailed everyone in the nation. We need money. Support ballot chasers. Send us money. They were doing all these videos on the ground, everything, and it just was a crushing loss. So you have to look at what happened, the reality, the results. Well, the Republicans lost those races. So Scott Pressler and Turning Point, they were there on the ground. They went all in. There's screenshots all over that website of, they changed their Twitter banner. They were shooting videos. Everyone bust people in from other states. We're going to call people. We're going to door knock. And it was just a crushing loss. So those techniques don't work. If Trump's not in the race, if, price of eggs and gas prices are not on the ballot, those techniques don't work. You lose. That's just the facts of it. So what we have to do is we have to fix the elections. We have to stop. Oh, you're blurry again.
I'm blurry again.
Did you put Vaseline on this? Did you put some Vaseline right there?
You're giving away all my secrets here. Come on. We're going to go back to your vanity shot here. There you go.
All right. Well, while I'm talking about some of this, there's a video actually. It's on the top of realscottpressler.com. I like how much video you had. So if you want to play, it's only like a 30-second promo video. It has some music. It's a pretty good video. I think it's a Rumble video. But while I'm talking, if you want to, cue that up, we can play it. But basically on this website, we look at all the claims that Scott Presser and Turning Point made, and we look at the data and we said, is this factual? We pulled the public available data from the counties. Did this happen? Did it not happen? Is it true? Is it not true? And there's actually a recording of a 3-hour Spaces discussion with a panel of experts, and they're talking very orderly, not like a typical X Space where everyone's just chatting back and forth. But we went in order with an agenda. We talked about these claims, talked about their people on the ground say they're not factual. There's all these claims of, we registered all these Amish voters. We registered all these Amish voters. Well, those were disproven. And then in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania itself, that area was they said, we delivered that for Trump. We in 2024, we delivered November 2023, but we delivered that for Trump. Sorry, it was 2024. Anyways, they said we delivered that. We registered those Amish. We got that win. That was Scott Presser. That's not true. Trump also beat Joe Biden there by a lot, by like 40,000 votes. He beat Joe Biden there, and he just crushed Kamala there. It was red. It was always red. They shouldn't have spent any time there. Yeah, that's the video right there. If you want to, who is Scott Presser? Yeah, click on that. Oh, there's an ad. We'll mute that. After that ad goes, then there we go. Whoa. I've never seen this before. There's 2 ads. They wouldn't let you watch it. There we go.
That I think that's just a very powerful video. I really do.
Thank you for showing that.
No, my pleasure. And again, it's I'll be clear. Like I am guilty of. I will throw shade at anyone and everyone because I do not care. I actually care about honesty and integrity, and that's wow. It got worse. Holy hell. Anyway,
that's all right.
And I am somebody who has been sick to death, having dealt with it for so long, of seeing so many people take advantage of so many others crying off their patriotism, of their vulnerabilities, of their fear, of their concern, and getting rich off of it. And it aggravates me. And hey, Scott Pressler is more than welcome to come back on the show and and speak to this. We know that's not going to happen. We know about the bot armies, and this is something that I want to parlay this into real quick, not to make it about me, but it was funny that after Politics One on X posted that I'm running for Senate, I noticed that everybody instantly started attacking me, calling me, I love this, a Democrat plant, which I always endured. I'm a Democrat plant. Yeah, like, wow. If you did 3 seconds of research, you realize that, no. But everybody who attacked me was magically all MAGA. It was all MAGA saying all this, and nobody, I swear it's getting worse. We're just going to leave it there. Anyway, I'm going to be the flashing bubble for a minute. Isn't that great to do with like millions of people watching right now? It's fantastic.
I feel like we're talking to a Dan AI. Like this isn't the real Dan.
Right? But seriously, it's interesting when these bot armies just come and attack, and you realize, like, wait a minute, there's probably something more to it. Now, something that you speak to not only on the website, but you've spoken about, ad nauseum, which I think is great, is when you speak out against or point a truth out about one of their propped up individuals, what happens?
Well, that's a great question, and there's a quote that is on there. I'm gonna just read it, but let's see. It's from Emerald Robinson. Let me just scroll down to where I have it. All right. Where did that go? I lost it. There's so much information on here. Anyways, it's a quote from Emerald Robinson, and what she's saying is, here it is. Behold, the entire fan base of Scott Pressler is in the comments section of my tweets day and night. Look at all these DOD spooks screaming vote early. Really makes you think. And she has a screenshot of a lady in military uniform. So what Emerald Robinson is saying is that when she criticizes Scott Pressler, she gets this like swarm or like a flame attack they seem like people. Some of them probably are real people. And they're saying, no, shut up. Like Scott's a national treasure. Like he works so hard. You're crazy. But the problem with that is also on that website, realscottpressler.com, there's 9 pages of screenshots of the same phrase over and over and over and over and over. Scott Pressler's a national treasure. Scott Pressler's a national treasure. And that was posted February 7th through the 9th in response to some criticism. There was a Scott Pressler should be kicked out of MAGA, like criticism. And then the next 3 days after that, it was just flooded everywhere. So that's kind of one of those flaming attacks. It's meant to, silence people. They double think about like, oh, maybe I shouldn't post that. And then the thing that's interesting, though, is that specific technique is mentioned in a Department of Defense intelligence paper, which Scott Pressler's father sponsored. So if people don't know, Scott Pressler's father, Robert Pressler, he was a director of information operations in the Pentagon. He was a director of global force planning and also in counterterrorism training and equipment. But basically, he was an intelligence officer, very high up in the Pentagon. There's screenshots of it. There's actually a recording where Robert Pressler was interviewed. I think it was like by Sebastian Gorka. And he mentions, oh, yes, I worked, in the Pentagon and Scott Pressler's my son and all this stuff. So it's absolutely 100% true. But the paper is just really astounding. It's a 100-page paper. It's also linked on the website, so you should check it out. Let me tell you the name of it. It's called Improving C2 and Situational Awareness for Operations in and Through the Information Environment. But what this paper describes is these exact techniques on using social media and bot automation to influence political outcomes. And there's some like really interesting quotes there. One of the things that it talks about on page 32, it talks about mimetic warfare. And if you want to scroll down, it's kind of at the bottom. I'll tell you where to go. I'll just keep going down. There's just some screenshots of them being active on the ground in Wisconsin right there. Keep scrolling down. There's all the text. Give us money. We need money. Just scroll down. And then we'll stop right there for a second. So that actually shows the net new registrations in in Pennsylvania, I believe it's Lancaster County specifically, it's the net new increase in Republican registrations by cycle. You see it's going down. So if Scott Presler and Turning Point are really out there registering so many people, why are the net new registrations going down? It doesn't make sense. Anyways,
Amazing, isn't it?
yeah, your camera cleared up again. You're good now.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
you just got to stay small like that, I guess.
I guess so.
All right, keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down. I'll just yeah. So they're talking about the fraud, and then
this is a great website, just so people are aware. And again, it's not about throwing shade or hate. It's about pointing out truisms that are uncomfortable truths that people deserve to know. Because
I was just going to say that screenshot right there. That's Elon Musk talking about how Doge uncovered there's 2 million illegals that have social security numbers, and they confirmed some of them were registering to vote and some of them did vote in the elections. So you cannot say there's no fraud. It's proven. It's documented. It's undeniable.
Right.
All right, keep scrolling down. There's just some quotes and stuff on there. A lot of great evidence. Keep going down. That's like the Amish. We registered all these Amish voters. That was disproven. There was a claim they registered 180,000 Amish. That's totally impossible. There's not even that many in Pennsylvania. And with the Amish, half of them are under the age of 18. They can't even vote. It's against their religion. They have to get permission from their bishop essentially to do it. But we're registering the Amish. This is a really interesting graph. It shows by how much in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Trump beat Biden. So even though Biden supposedly won in 2020, Trump destroyed him in Lancaster. And then if you scroll down again, that's 2024, Trump defeating Kamala. So there was almost no change. It was so red. Presser shouldn't have even been there for the 2024 presidential election. He shouldn't have even been there. He should have been somewhere else where it was needed. He absolutely did not deliver that. It was red before, it won before. There was no meaningful change. Okay, this is talking about some of the money. So his PAC has received almost $7 million in 2023 and 2024. There's Liz Harrington. She's questioning, the election, saying something's wrong. To lose this election, it was plus 16 for Trump just 4 months ago. How could we have lost this? And, Presser's out there saying there's no fraud, there's no fraud. So keep scrolling down a little bit. We'll go back to the DOD. This stopped right there. So this is MJ Truth Ultra. He was just questioning. He's a really big account on X. He's got 900,000 followers or something. He's questioning Scott Presser's. What about this? What about this election fraud? Some of this is proven. What about this? And Scott sent him like a nasty gram. And MJ Truth Ultra, he posted some very cordial screenshots, and Scott blocked him, which is what he does. He blocks everyone. He blocks me. Anyone that questions him, just thousands and thousands of people he blocks. All right, keep going down. He's talking about he's involved there. Oh, this is an interesting one. So I was talking earlier that the Republican votes, the low propensity Republican votes ballots, it looks like they went for the Democrat, and that's what this shows. On the left, it's the Democrat, how many were sent out, how many were returned, and how many went for the Democrat. And you notice that third column, which is dark blue, it's higher than the other two. That's because they got some extra votes, but it's not like, they could have been stolen ballots, but according to Scott Presser, there's no fraud. So they had to come from the Republican ballot side. And if you look at the other side, those other three columns, you see that they sent out, 5,451, only 4,361 were returned. These are Republican ballots. And then for the Republican, they only went 3,547 of the mail-in ballots. So that means that some of those Republicans voted Democrat, and they likely were the low propensity ones. And Tony Shoup from Audit the Vote PA, that's her chart, she pointed out that basically, maybe at one point this strategy, that video actually explains it. That's a kind of long, it's 4 minutes, but it kind of explains it. Anyways, I'll cover it. But basically she's pointing out that, look, the Democrats know this strategy of low propensity voters. Even if it did work, which I don't believe it ever did, but even if it did work, now they target those. They say, okay, these are people that are not paying attention to politics. They're very susceptible to propaganda. And by requesting those mail-in ballots, they know who they are, they know where they are, and they send them all these flyers and propaganda to their house, text messages, all this stuff. In the Fetterman-Oz race, they told the low propensity Republican voters, "Hey, Oz kills puppies. He kills puppies." It was later revealed, oh, that was a lie. That wasn't true, but it worked. I mean, those low propensity voters believed it. They've talked to people that have voted. They said, "Well, I wanted to vote Republican, but Oz killed puppies, so I had to vote for Fetterman." And that's what they're doing. They're just targeting these ones that Turning Point and Scott Presler are teeing up for him, and then they vote Democrat, and then we lose the race. So scroll down. That's a screenshot of the money again. And then, 6.8 million in 2023, 2024. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, that's a screenshot. Two of his largest donors were Rockefellers. So Lysine Rockefeller, who works at Winrock International, which is a Rockefeller company, $118,000. And then William Rockefeller, $18,000. So the question was, I mean, the Rockefellers are not really great people typically. There could be some exceptions, but with donations of that size, you have to meet with them usually in person. They may want to hand you the check in person. So how is Presler getting in a room with the Rockefellers? Who's setting that up? And then, I mean, he had two huge losses after that. So what did that money go for? I mean, it went for losses. And then this is, if you scroll down, so that's an article by Kartik Pratap for CA Club India. They write about people's net worth. So he estimates that Presser, his annual income is $700,000 a year. He recently inherited a free $550,000 home and has a net worth of $4 million. It also mentions he owns a $320,000 apartment in downtown Pittsburgh. And Presser posted himself publicly on X that he bought another house in Pennsylvania.
So now that's Durham County.
Yeah, that's three houses, and then don't forget the free $100,000 diesel Suburban car that he received from like a Give Send Go or whatever it was, GoFundMe. So Presler, he's not this homeless dog walker that picks up trash. That's a lie. He wasn't out there couch surfing. I mean, can't afford gas. I mean, it's ridiculous. His whole family comes from money. So now let's talk about his dad. If you scroll down. Again, he had a Navy career, and then in the Pentagon in intelligence. There's the LinkedIn, and there's the photo of him wishing his dad Happy Father's Day. Again, there's a radio interview with Robert Presler where he talks about all this. But if you scroll down more, so there's some of the screenshots. So there's 9 pages of this. Keep scrolling. It all says the same thing. Scott Presler's a national treasure. Scott Presler's a national treasure. Scott Presler's a national treasure. Over and over and over. Yeah, and then there might be a little bit of variation or some photos thrown in there, but keep scrolling down. It's just so much. And this was 3 days. In 3 days, this happened. Keep scrolling down. This is just talking about some of the fraud concerns and some of the bot stuff. This is another example. So in Arizona, Turning Point Action, under the direction of the COO Tyler Boyer, tried to influence the Arizona GOP chairman's election. And it was strange because Tyler Boyer personally and all the Turning Point Action employees and everything, they endorsed Gina just a year earlier. So they endorsed her. They were all Gina. And then a year later, well, what has changed? Well, she didn't give them access to the data, the voter data that they wanted. She canceled an $80,000 contract to Jake Hoffman, he's a legislator in Arizona, but he's basically a Turning Point employee. His company Rally Forge has been paid like $2 to $3 million by Turning Point. And there was some other stuff that they didn't like. So they flipped on her. They ran this smear campaign, and it was all Turning Point Action paid employees. And you could tell because they had the little Turning Point Action logo in their profile, which if you scroll through those screenshots, that's what you see. It's these lies. It's all paid Turning Point employees. It's like the same message all at the same time. So it's interesting that this is like the same technique. Okay, so now we get into this intelligence DOD report. That hyperlink is the 100-page report. Don't click on that. But let's go down a little bit more. That's the mimetic warfare, which, that's psychological warfare. And pause right there. All right, I'm going to keep going. So on page 14 of this report, wait, go back up. Don't scroll down yet. On page 14, on page 14, it talks about when a post by a user has been met with an inundation or flaming by other users, the initial user may be hesitant or suppressed to post again expressing similar views. And on page 88, it says social media platforms were infiltrated by foreign bots and automated retweets. An analysis that fails to account for these facts would have negative value. It would mislead instead of inform. And the last one I'll read is on page 97 to 98 of the report sponsored by Robert Pressler. It says, the utility of using automation can be seen in Russian factories of people overseeing propaganda and trolling bots, running many accounts that are nearly identical or use slight variation on the same message, perhaps via automated rephrasing. The sheer volume of content posted on social media sites is possible only via automation, with reactions and responses to the post controlled manually. The sheer volume of content posted on social media sites is possible only. Oh, I just read that. They're near MADCOM processes, and they suggest how hard it would be to distinguish sophisticated, fully automated propaganda from human-generated propaganda. That's all the quotes I'll read. So we have documentation of those exact techniques being used, and it's in Robert Pressler's paper, DoD intelligence paper, and I mean it's black and white for me. Then under that is some of the other scandals, like you may have seen. You remember the Pam Bondi Epstein binder scandal, right? They came a big nothing burger. Oh, look at this binder! Look at this binder. Well, Scott Pressler was one of those influencers that was invited. I mean, why? Why would you bring Scott Pressler there? What does he know? What does he know about the Epstein files or FBI or anything? Nothing. He knows nothing about any of that. But he's there, and the common connection was they're all turning point influencers. That was the connection. And then, of course, you scroll down. That's his famous photo. Virginia Beach, allegedly in the GOP office there. Allegedly, he was caught having anal intercourse with another man. I believe more than once is what it's been alleged. But don't get caught up in that, because they're used to that. They want to play victim off that. They don't want to talk about the data. They don't want to talk about the money. They want to just say, oh, you hate gay people, so that's what's going on. That's not what it is at all. That's just the fact that happened. There you can see why don't you play that video? That's from the Tate brothers. You might like that. It's not very long.
Okay.
There might be an ad in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Kevin Sorbo. All right.
There you go. You got Sorbo.
That's a win on the ad.
That's all right.
That's an ad win.
Military-grade zoom lens be illegal?
Military-grade zoom lens. Uh-oh. Is that Robert Pressler's commercial?
He spoke about it.
All right.
I'm going to admit this. I speak to lots of people. I speak to lots of important people. And while the campaign was being run, I'm very quiet about who I know. I'm very quiet about who I speak to, because I understand there's some toxicity that comes with my name due to this matrix attack, these false allegations. But who is that guy, Scott Pressler, that fucking hero from Pennsylvania? He moved to Pennsylvania to a swing state and personally registered to vote hundreds of thousands of people somehow, almost all by himself. That guy is someone who you should follow and you should learn from. But the power of Trump's fans and Trump supporters having money and having motivation and being dedicated is because if you have money, you can help. Scott Pressler did this almost all by himself, but he did have some wealthy donors, including myself. I gave Scott Pressler $10,000 myself so he could get out there and kick ass the way that he did. So if I wasn't rich and successful, if everyone who likes Trump wasn't rich and successful, people wouldn't be able to campaign, people wouldn't be able to raise funds, people wouldn't be able to put TV adverts on, and he'll lose next time. So if you are a guy who's happy about this election result, you need to become the kind of person who can help people like Trump stay in charge in the future. Absolutely.
All right, go ahead. So what a glowing endorsement from the Tate brothers for Mr. Pressler there. But I mean, the problem with that is, some of those statements are accurate and some are completely untrue. Scott Pressler did not register 110,000 people by himself. That the data proves that's false. That's a lie. And that money certainly didn't help them in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, did it? So, there's a lot of problems with that. This is talking about some of his other scandals. And then, this one's funny. Leave it right there. It's not the video, but there was something that Scott Pressler posted, and it got viewed like millions of times. It was a video, it was a ring cam. And Scott Pressler said, a Susan Crawford supporter was caught on a Ring doorbell smoking, cursing, and looking for a deceased voter in Wisconsin. All right, that's what he said. But it turned out that was his employee. She worked for Early Vote Action, and he admits it down in the screenshot there. And he says, this woman has been fired. He tries to spin it. This was an infiltrator trying to hurt our chances in Wisconsin. It's in Wisconsin. So, I mean, I don't know. He just lies, gets the social media play, and then it turns out, it was his employee, actually. She was the one that was hurting the Republican chances. It's just ridiculous. And then there's another one there. Scott Presler was publicly defending on Facebook this woman. Her last name's Cahill, which is funny because there's a Cahill in Arizona that's, I'd like to say also a criminal. But anyways, she is actually a felon. This woman, I believe it's Emily Cahill, and was busted basically as a meth drug dealer. Was an armed meth drug dealer. Since then she says she's reformed and this and that, whatever. But if you scroll down a little bit more, so that's a Republican governor candidate calling that out, that woman is attacking him, his character, all that stuff. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you see Scott Presler publicly defending him. Let's see. Yeah, Scott Presler says, what a disgusting attack against Emily. I've known her for years. I mean, you've known her for years. She was in prison for a lot of those years. Did you visit her in jail, Scott? I mean, she was the meth dealer for years. I mean, I don't know. How long have you known her? For years. Anyways, he says she actually goes out to register voters, knock on doors, and get out the vote. Running for office is about addition, not subtraction. You can consider me subtracted if this is how you're going to treat people like Emily. So, I don't know. You got the Tate brothers, you got the meth dealers, you got the felons, you got the Rockefellers. I mean, that's who Scott Presler's rolling with, I guess.
It's so much. It's so damn much. And, it blows the mind. And again, it is not about wanting to attack, but it's about pointing out truths. And this is the uncomfortable, undeniable things, and people don't like that. They don't like when you rock the world where it's all so, fluff and everything's so wonderful and great and everybody is good that says they are. We are literally inundated with non-stop psyop after psyop after psyop. You see it. I speak about it all the time, even with the MAGA supporters, and the doomsayers and all that other good stuff. It's one of those deals where this is what they do. They try to divide people. They try to distract people. They try to, purposely just steer. It's the shell game. It's a constant shell game of steering you in one direction. Focus on this person's good. This person's bad. This person's betraying you. Focus here. And people fall for it time and time and time again. And it's mind numbing. And that's what it really comes down to, is the simple fact that you get tired of seeing people get taken advantage of. You get tired of seeing people being manipulated and coerced and literally just duped time and time and time again. And when do people realize that, you know what? Maybe I need to stop focusing on the almighties that they prop up and bowing at their altar and start focusing on actually fixing the problems, because we're on a limited timetable here.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. And I see you're showing that article. So this is actually breaking news. I haven't talked about this. We'll scroll up to the top, leave it there for just a second. I haven't talked about this on any podcast yet, including my own. So you're like a worldwide exclusive. The article was written a couple days ago, but I haven't talked about it anywhere. So you remember we were talking about Tyler Boyer, the chief operating officer of Turning Point Action, right? Okay, so the interesting thing is Tyler Boyer is also the CEO of a company called Superfeed Technologies Incorporated, and he's also the chairman of the board of it. Well, that company makes the app also for Scott Presler Early Vote Action. So they make the Turning Point app, they make the Scott Presler Early Vote Action app, and Tyler Boyer is on the board. And that company was created by Turning Point. I believe actually Charlie Kirk's mother-in-law is another board member on there. But anyways, there's an image there, and it's Tyler Boyer. And next to him, there's a guy named it's Matthew Martinez. Matthew Martinez. And they're there on the beach in Mexico, whatever. I mean, they're right next to each other. It looks like they're having a good time. It even says George Strait here for a good time. That's kind of funny. So if you close off of that and scroll down, but what this is there was a sexual assault, and there's screenshots of the police report in here, okay, and an account from the victim. And what happened was basically Tyler Boyer inappropriately took over as the chief operating officer, the HR, the human relations investigation of it, to squash it, to silence it. He covered it up. And so there's a screenshot of, Mr. Martinez, who actually is allegedly the one who committed the sexual assault. And this is of a young girl, just very young, like Turning Point Action. They always get these really young girls in there. So he allegedly sexually assaulted her. There he is with Charlie Kirk on his show. Matthew Martinez. And if you scroll down, basically Matthew Martinez was, the project leader. So definitely a superior. And then this actually happened in Wisconsin. And then the victim basically was driving him around at Tyler Boyer's direction because he didn't have a car. He was there. He's given a lot of presentations. He's kind of like their data guy. For all the elections, he's pulling their data. There's a couple quotes there. Boyer said, actually, after the assault, he said, Matthew relentlessly worked to train thousands of ballot chasers, full-time, part-time, and volunteer. Our entire Chase the Vote operation, our Bedrock Legacy Field operation, and Commit 100 program ran by the wonderful team at HQ. They deserve monuments. So just scroll down a little bit more. Again, there's that photo. Let's scroll down a little bit more. That's actually the post where he's complimenting him. But then there's a long statement from the victim, and a lot of this is in the police report. Just some highlights there in bold. He's talking about Tyler Boyer, and Matthew says, he told me to expense my mileage because it was for work and that Tyler had approved it. She drove him to a church called Holy Hill. They went to mass. So scroll down a little bit. And then she doesn't drink at all. She doesn't drink any alcohol. Matthew, did have a drink in the police report. He says a drink and a half, but he did have a drink or so. Actually told the victim that he gets nervous flying, so he has to drink before he goes on a plane, but don't tell my boss. Scroll down just a little bit more. That's what I was talking about there. Keep scrolling down. So I'm just giving you the highlights. But then, she's a very petite kind of girl. Oh, hold on. Someone's calling me. Let me shut that off. Sorry about that. That's my wife, so she may start calling me back. Anyway, she's a petite girl. So it says that basically she felt intimidated by him. He tried to kiss her, grabbed her thigh. She was wearing a dress. His hand went up further and further until it was touching her underwear. She was very afraid. She was paralyzed. They finally got to the hotel, and she told him, get the F out of the car. So that's kind of her recounting of what it is. But scroll down a little bit farther. Let's look at the images of the police report. Yeah, keep scrolling down. So there's the sheriff's report, the police report. Some of the information is redacted to protect them, but it highlights several key points. This is all evidenced. Keep scrolling down. Yeah, it talks about, exactly what happened. And there's some interesting things there that, of course, Mr. Martinez possibly was coached, but in typical fashion, blame the victim. Oh, she, it was her. She was, coming on to me. Typical kind of like abuser, blame the victim. But there were some interesting things to take note of is he also said that at the end of the encounter, she, the victim, told him to get the F out of the car. So if you think about that for a second, does that make sense? If the woman was the aggressor and Mr. Martinez was innocent, in the car, he doesn't mention any other problem. Why would she tell him to, get the F out of the car at the end? It doesn't make any sense. He also says that he could not answer certain questions about what happened, and that he tried to remove a lot of that day from my mind. That's in the police report. So now keep scrolling down. Let's talk about the cover-up. So scroll down a little bit. Yeah, okay. So Tyler Boyer took over the HR investigation. This is a letter from their legal counsel. So their legal counsel sent a letter to this young girl, basically threatening her, saying, "I'm the counsel for Turning Point Action, and then upon your commencement with TPA, you signed an NDA agreement. We've been informed that you're discussing a confidential investigation that arose from your report of harassment by a coworker." She says harassment, but it's the police report, and both the two parties involved, it's sexual assault. Interesting that the legal counsel would downgrade it from sexual assault to harassment. But anyways, she goes on to say, "You would be in violation of your NDA and you must cease continuing such communication. We take this action very seriously and prepared to take appropriate legal action for violation of the NDA." But what's the problem? There's no legal basis for that. The legal precedent is clear. Federal precedent legislation, Speak Out Act of 2022. There's lots of legal citations. NDAs do not apply to sexual harassment or sexual assault, especially if they're signed before it happens. There's another one. It's Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment Act 2022, codified USC 401-402, and then EOC versus Phoenix Transit System in 2000. All of these are legal precedent that says absolutely she can discuss sexual assault. Absolutely she can discuss harassment. So this legal counsel for Turning Point Action they're just talking out their ass. It's no legal basis for, she's straight up just threatening her with false information. So it's in my mind and many people, it's a clear cover up. They're just trying to cover it up. And so what I would like to do is, if there's any other victims of the Turning Point organization, I would like to invite them to get in touch with me, to come forward with their stories. There is other sexual allegations that have been written about by the media in Turning Point. I've heard from several sources that there are other sexual assaults, sexual harassment. Maybe those people feel intimidated or they've been similarly threatened, but I'm asking them to come forward. They can do it anonymously, brianference.com, or on X, send me a message. If these victims don't come forward, then what will happen is there'll just be more victims. So what I'm calling for is Turning Point Action to immediately conduct proper investigations without these baseless legal threats and intimidation against the victims, and to immediately take corrective action and aggressive training of their employees on intensive sexual harassment training, safe environment training, and then investigate and take appropriate actions on any of their employees, such as Mr. Martinez, if there's been any sexual harassment or sexual assault, including and up to dismissal, as well as for the employees that appear to be covering it up, like Mr. Boyer. Oh, I lost your audio there. Dan, I lost your audio. I can't hear you. Your camera looks good, though. Did you put Vaseline on the microphone this time? You shouldn't do that. I can't hear your audio. Sorry. I don't know if your viewers can, but I can't. I didn't adjust anything on my end. Let me see. Let me double check my settings. Audio. Oh. Talk now. I might have got you back. Oh, no, I still can't hear you. Let's see. Yeah, I just did a test, so my speakers are good. I just did a test, so it's got to be your microphone. You can hear me though, right? Your viewers can hear you. Okay, just I can't hear you. All right, that's weird. I just tested it. That's so weird. The only thing I can think is my wife called me, but that shouldn't have changed any of the settings. Let's see. I will go to my audio and I'll change it back. Let's see. Yeah, I'm getting good audio off of that, just not with you. That's weird. Let me mute and come off it. Let me try going to my headset. Oh, my headset's not really plugged in. I'll plug it in. We'll see if this works. Hold on. All right, let me change my settings. All right, so for speaker, I'm going to put you to headset. Still can't hear you, though. Let's see. I could try one more thing. Let's see. Let me try a couple of these different ones. Keep talking so I can hear you. Let's see. Try this one. Yeah, I could try leaving, coming back. I see that suggestion. Oh, that's so weird. It was working that whole time. All right, hold on. Let me try leaving and coming back and see what happens with that. Let's do this. Test. Audio, speakers. That's good.
Fault of
I got you
the
back
individual.
now.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you.
There we go. Beautiful. I was literally just saying it wasn't me this time. I don't know. Believe me, when we launch our new platform in the next very short while, we'll be away from all this technical crap. But anyway,
no worries.
But I was saying that, what it really comes down to is, we report, you decide. And I love your work. And God, we need people like you to really dig into what the hell's going, especially here in Maine. There's so many stories. There's so many things. We need an army of people like yourself amplified, because so many, and this is the problem, Brian, so many people are so infatuated with these people that you're supposed to idolize and you think are the good guys. And what it really comes down to is not even necessarily the fault of the people, because they want to put their faith in someone. They want to put their faith that these are the good ones. Well, President Trump likes them, must be good. President Trump is a little busy. All right. He knows a lot of the scum, but he also, he has a game to play, and he's focused on saving the country and honestly saving the world. Mm-hmm. So there's only so much you could do. And what's infuriating is that people are just constantly being taken advantage of. And, and Demons Among Us said it, perfectly stated. The evil is off the charts. It's true. And it's on all sides. The uniparty establishment, they profiteer. They take advantage of so many. And it's disgusting. And here's another one, just so you see what we deal with here. Brian, we have a situation up here in Maine, just off subject, but on point, so to speak. We have a situation here in Maine where we are exposing, with my Senate campaign especially, when I do get any, the stuff I put out there is very bold, it's very crass, it's very blunt, because I'm talking about the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the drug trafficking, the cartel involvement, the pay-to-play, my God, the Smurfs and the election integrity issues. We had Chris Gleason on a couple weeks ago. I have thousands of pages of WinRed violations of Susan Collins and her votes and money laundering and everything else. But in this state, nobody pays attention to it. Nobody cares about. And it's so bad. The corruption is so bad that I learned this, the hard way, that Maine is literally almost the heart of the deep state. And it all started when George H.W. Bush put his compound in Kennebunkport, and this is where it all kind of spiraled, because nobody pays attention to Maine. It is so bad here. And I say this not just because it doesn't fit me to say this, using this platform, this audience, because it's so bad, because we have hundreds, if not thousands of kids that go missing here. We have people that have been suicided and, ran off the road, and people know the intimidation, and nobody will take the time to look into anything here. We had a situation yesterday. I'm not trying to let the cat out of the bag, but the FBI hung up on somebody, a couple that we put videos out where their lives are in danger. The FBI hung up on them 3 times in a row.
Wow.
And that's not an indictment on Cash or Bongino or whomever. It's an indictment on, this is how vast the enterprise is of this evil, And we are begging people. Like, I've been good at exposing crap and going in, but like the investigative world, who the hell has the time to do it all? But I want to do it all. And that's why we launched this Rage campaign. It's a national thing, restoring accountability and grassroots empowerment. But we're looking to build an army of independent investigators, independent journalists. And, you know, we need help, because this and stuff like this, and everybody, and this is what aggravates me. Everybody was like reaching out to Pressler and saying, please come here. And he's like, I see your post and, you know, I'm considering it. And then he announced a couple weeks later, sorry, I'm not going to get to you until 2020. Come on. They don't care about me. It's not a big enough footprint for them. And that's the point I try to drive home. And there's so many things, like I'm happy we spent this time, but there's so many things I want to go into with you that we got to do this again very soon.
We'll do it again, yeah.
Because I know you've been very generous with your time, but there's so much at play and there's so much at stake. And I want to ask you, again, off subject, but not, what are your thoughts on Laura Loomer? Because Timothy Shea brought it up, and I wanted to ask you what your thoughts on Laura are.
So I actually discussed that on my show with a. You know, did you watch that with Mark Cook?
I did.
Head Count Roadshow. Yeah, so Mark's a big fan of Laura Loomer, and you know, I mean, Laura does some good work. She certainly does. We were talking about why would Laura like not cover certain stories. For example, she announced a breaking story about Superfeed Technologies, and then Tyler Boyer rushed in to call her the next day, and then she announced, "Oh, everything's fine. Never mind this story." So I think that when you get into this influencer realm, if there's all these paid influencers and they kind of go along the same way, I mean, if you stand in opposition to them, I mean, she was kicked off of X by Elon for a while. She was demonetized, and I mean, I guess she was still on, but she was demonetized and everything. And so then she was allowed back in. Well, I mean, what were the terms of being allowed back in? Was it like you need to cool it a little bit, Laura, and like don't cover certain things that we don't want you to cover? I don't know. I don't know if that was the agreement, but I don't know. It looks like Laura, although she's good and covers a lot of things, looks like she has a blind spot for some things and some topics. And I don't know if it's because of the other influencers, or she's just been told, or just it's not worth her time, or it could be something worse. I'm not sure. But, I do like a lot of her work and what she does. And she's very fact based, although she does get a little feisty, but I mean, I kind of like that too. But I don't like people having a blind spot. I mean, I don't know if people say that about me. I pretty much don't have a blind spot. There's some things maybe that I say, well, strategically, we're not going to do this right now because of X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to tell you why. I'm not just going to be silent on it and like never cover something and tell you, no, I'm not covering that, or I don't know, ghost it. So I don't know. There's probably something there. It's probably tied to revenue. When there's a lot of money in play, that just influences people. She could have. I mean, she supposedly Laura, after she got back on X with Elon, then she was back good with the Trump team. And she says she wants to work for Trump. So honestly, all it would take is say, Laura, if you do X, Y, and Z, we have a job for you with the Trump team. And that might not be from Trump. Trump has a lot of corrupt advisors, especially his Arizona advisors. They're awful. They're just working against Trump, total rhinos. You should fire all of them. So, I mean, that could have happened again. I mean, I could see how that could happen. So it's really difficult. I mean, politics is really dirty. And if you're in it long enough, I would say it's not whether or not you're corrupted. It's like how much are you corrupted? I would say even I would be slightly corrupted over time, but it would be more like from like fatigue, or I can't take that fight on because I got all these other fights. I mean, that's a level of corruption, as well. But I don't know. It's a very dirty game. So you have to just try to be as truthful and honest and do the right thing as you can. Discern wisdom from the Holy Spirit, from Jesus, from God. Put America first. Don't put other countries first. A lot of these influencers, I mean, all you have to do is look at their posts, and they're talking a lot more about other countries than they are about America. And I'm not necessarily talking about a specific country, but our Congress should not be influenced by any foreign countries. They should only be influenced by America. And, I think we should ban all foreign lobbyists, ban all foreign money,
That's spot on. And I say it all the time that I see all sides. this is strange at 42, but I say this often, being the old man in the room when I see like all these sides going after, like, you have the America First crowd with, Jew, 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 Jew. You're Hitler. Why do you call me a Nazi? Jew, 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 Jew. And then I see the other side, Israel, 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 right? And I see Ukraine, Ukraine, all this crap. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you want to school people. It's like, you know what? You don't have to hate or attack Israel, but you can say the Zionist intelligence state, pretty damn evil. Mossad, I don't know who's worse, the CIA or the Mossad. I really think they're kind of co-equal. Like when October 7th with Hamas and Hezbollah and Israel, everybody else, all I see is our tax dollars, our tax dollars, our tax dollars, are the constant military industrial complex. And I see people playing in this divisionary crap. And that's why I appreciate people like yourself to put in the work. And this is what people don't understand. And I swear I'll stop because I know you probably got to go. But I'm sorry to your wife. I apologize. But, it's one of those deals where I don't know. I have no idea about your financials, but I'm gonna guess it and say that you probably make as much money as I do doing this. We don't make crap. I'm
not getting financial compensation, so I'm not being controlled by anyone or told I can't talk about certain things.
Exactly. And when that happens, when they don't own you, they can't control you. So therefore, people like us, we have to speak the truth to power, no matter if it hurts feelings, if it breaks your whole facade that it's been painted for you, whatever it may be, because you're presenting facts and you're presenting, not just your opinions, you're putting factualities out there. Like I thought what you put, I think that's important, And again, he's more than welcome to come on and defend himself, but we know it's not going to happen. And turning point, I always say you have all the money in the world, but what good are you actually doing? It's like this cool kid club, but the people who suffer are us. The people who suffer are the ones that actually all they want is to take their country back. All they want is to believe in something again. And I see one man taking bullets, one man losing billions, getting attacked every which way. I see him knocking down executive orders like crazy, and Congress has done like two. They passed like two things.
Yeah.
Weak, feckless, ballless, soulless, disgusting politics. I see the guy at the top. Yes, I've gotten to meet him and spend time with him, and I love the man. I've always loved the man from back when I was a kid. But I see him fighting for us, and everybody else. You have to question. And I guess, this is where I'll stop. What is your outlook for what happens next with the next election cycle? I would love to believe what they say. Donald Trump will be sworn in for his third term. But, hey, I'm all about it. But where do you think it goes from here, Brian?
Well, that's a good question. And, we touched on at the very beginning, a couple of things that you mentioned again was it was set up to steal some seats, specifically the Arizona Senate seat, and then some of the California seats in the U.S. Congress, so that the Republicans would have a weaker majority, and the rhinos that are there would have more power, and they would do what they're doing now, which is nothing or block Trump.
Yes.
And that was all set up. That's why the ballot chasing and the early voting and the registration, it didn't help that. It didn't help any of those down ballot races. Didn't help in Pennsylvania. Didn't help in Wisconsin, because they're going to keep stealing the elections if we don't fix our elections. So what I believe needs to happen is, Cash and Bongino need to work with Doge, and they need to, let's cool it on the financials for a minute, because government efficiency is also our elections, which are very expensive, and there's a lot of money there. And we need to look at the election fraud and expose it at a huge level that's going to embarrass the state legislatures enough that they'll be forced to act and forced to do something, or else they'll be kicked out. They'll be dragged out and thrown out. And they'll have to do that because there'll be so much publicity at the top. Doge found this. Here's the data. Absolutely fraud in this state, in this state, in this state. These elections are invalid. And they'll be forced, just out of embarrassment, to do something. And if we don't do that in the next 3.5 years, it'll go right back to how it was.
Yes. And that's why I'm holding out hope there, because I love that the irony of it. Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrat who ran for president, and she's the one saying that he's going to be revealing 2020, and everything else. I mean, as I said, you want to talk about constitutional crisis. What's going to happen when what's exposed is what we've always known? What they call us crazy, they call us conspiracy theorists, they call us this, they call us that. But it's sheer common sense. And you're right. It needs to be, and that's why people have said to me in Maine, like, "Oh, you're too this. You're gonna destroy everything." Good. You know what? You need to level the playing field and destroy the entities that are doing evil and just continuously perpetrating this corruption, this system of just control, not empowerment, control. You need to burn it down sometimes and start over. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. But I really feel, and I don't know about you, but I feel like July 4th, 2026 is a big, big deadline for President Trump for so many things. And I think a lot of things are going to come to light before, or by that time anyway. And I agree. It needs to be substantial. We need to wrecking ball the entire damn system, because it is so overwhelmingly bad.
Right. And we need to do what Trump says in his executive order, which is, we need to go back to hand counting, precinct-based voting with voter ID, limited mail-in ballots, not early voting. He said it over and over. And isn't it interesting that Turning Point and Scott Presser are saying the exact opposite? Yes. So they're going against Donald Trump. How can they say they're for Donald Trump when they're directly speaking and acting against Trump and causing Republican losses? How can they say they're for Trump?
Amazing, isn't it? Sometimes it's literally right there for the world to see. Just, believe what you're hearing, believe what your eyes are seeing, because it's really happening. Yeah. With that, I know you stayed longer and I thank you for it. I want to invite you on again soon.
Sure.
Like really soon.
Be happy to.
And I would also love to do an election integrity roundtable. I'd like to get you and Chris Gleason. I don't know if you know Chris Gleason at all.
I don't think I met him in person. I don't think so. Okay.
He's a powerhouse as well. I'd love to do a roundtable as well with you guys, because there's a lot of stuff I'd love to go over.
Okay.
And hopefully we could talk again offline here very soon.
Sure. Be happy to.
That's awesome. Brian, honestly, thank you so much for everything. I mean, it's powerful. And I sit in silence and you read the stuff, and I knew it was there, but it's important for people to see, because I'm tired of the blinders being purposely cast upon people where it's like, listen, you know what? Believe in yourselves and stop believing in the propped up freaking figureheads, because they're not going to save the day. They're not going to rescue you. They want to keep you down. They want to keep taking your money, and there always needs to be a crisis. Just like, there always needs to be a war. There always needs to be this, right? That's how we keep the machine going. Break the damn machine. That's how we stop this.
I'm for no machines. No machines at all.
Amen. Same here. God bless you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. MAGAMindPodcast.com, RealScottPressler.com. We'll have the links up as well. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Your first appearance on PolitiShock, and seriously, I look forward to doing this again really soon. And just stay safe and keep spreading that truth. And you are awesome. And I respect you. I really do.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. Many. God bless, and God bless your viewers as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You see, I love when we have guests like that, because this is the type of stuff that needs to be out there that we need to see. And that's what this show is for. That's what his show is for.